Welcome to the Gray Matters, where we discuss more than just the hot topics and headlines of the day from a black man's perspective. We appreciate that we're not all a monolith, and every subject deserves to be explored with nuance, giving a view from all sides of the culture. So we are here to hopefully bring you that energy, that heat, and we got some today for you. We're going to give it a little bit of nuance and class and fun as always. And as always, our panel consists of three guys who are absolutely nothing alike, but you'll soon come to find out just how much we love each other in spite of our sometimes very big differences. I'm Billy Craig, and I join you today from the great state of Delaware, where everybody seems to be incorporated. Today I'm joined by some of my best and dearest friends, my ride or dies. We've got Jacqueline Smith out in Nashville, and we've got Kate Jackson joining us from Washington. You guys are a little bit older. The people who've been watching TV for a while, you'll catch that later. You know,
Let me guess,
you'll
you
get the
Farrah?
reference. Oh no, bro, I'm
I mean,
trying.
you do put on the bikinis though.
See how we do. Now here's the sad part. I knew when I made that reference, I was like, he ain't gonna let that slide. He gonna bring up the speedos somehow. Them posing trunks gonna come up every episode. Trust
Hey,
me, he
all
gonna
right,
find a way
Farrah.
to sneak that in.
Uh-huh.
How you doing today, fellas? How we doing?
Man, I'm good. I definitely can't complain. It's been it's hot, but it is what it is.
It's that time of year.
Man.
Hot in the hot tub, boy. Woo, it's hot out here. Whoo, wee.
Well, let's go ahead and jump it right off. We got some we got some real heat today. We got plenty to discuss, so let's do it.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and introduce the topic, but I already know who I want to handle this.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the urban poet Sean Carter
Mm.
issued the words "I do it for the culture,"
Mm.
it took on a whole new meaning now in 2023. It's been slowly
That is mine.
making a turn. For we'll decide whether it's for the better or for worse through this conversation.
Hmm.
But the actual aspect of blackness and trying to keep it real and all of this stuff and where it meets when you turn a certain age and the
Hmm.
decisions that you go through when you are keeping it real, or as
Hmm.
Dave Chappelle said, keeping it real goes wrong.
Hmm.
So we wanted to explore that, and who better to start with our resident thug?
Wow. Ain't nothing thug about me, boy.
Nah, I want Paul to tip this off though, because
Nobody keeps it real like Paul Wilson.
man,
There we
Keeps it
go.
real.
No. Nah, real talk. Let's think about this though. We got to go back for context, right? Because we all kind of grew up in the era where it shifted,
Yeah.
right? And we were kids in the crack era, right? And became teenagers toward the end of it.
Mhm.
And our music changed from the Rakim, the Chuck D, the
KRS-One.
KRS
Yeah, right.
One, Paris, X Clan. Our music changed from trying to educate us to us living up the stereotypes. Now, I won't say you blame Ice Cube because Ice Cube did it in a responsible way that let you know where that life was going to lead.
Right.
What happened in the 90s and then on into today, they start glorifying crime and the lifestyle to the point where you weren't a black guy, a real black guy, like Joe Biden said, you ain't black if you ain't involved in some sort of crime or crime adjacent, right? Gang culture permeated our music. It used to be separate. You used to the The real gangsters was making that happy-go-lucky music.
Yep, that's exactly right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The one,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
The ones that's making that, you know, I do this, I do that, I got the weight, they ain't doing nothing. It's the ones making them damn corny ass dance songs.
They weren't even adjacent to it, really.
Nope. Right.
Yeah.
And now, you know, we have a deterioration in the lyrics and the messages that are going into our children, which leads us to guys like Ja Morant.
Whew.
And the only reason he's insulated is because he's got a couple $100 million. But there's a lot of Ja Morants who can't jump, ain't got a jumper,
Can't move their feet,
can't slide their
Right.
feet, and they only 5'7".
And by the way, it didn't have decent parents.
And didn't have decent parents.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see guys who had braces at 12 and, you know, taking family pictures, and your pops is a businessman and your mama's working in an office, and you can afford AAU.
Yep.
And the travel,
Mm-hmm.
and I see you acting like this, it can't be nothing but the music and the media he's consuming. Can't be nothing but that. It can't be nothing but watching a bunch of drug shows from 50 Cent. You know, the things that he's acted in, he's got a wide range of things he's acted in, projects he's been a part of. But let's look at the things he creates. It's all trauma. It's all bad. It's all negative. Even the women, they're not promoting. It's not MC Light out here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
it's not Queen Latifah out here.
We used to refer to it as consciousness, and it's not to somehow, like, for example, I wouldn't necessarily consider like Big Daddy Kane one of my favorites. I wouldn't necessarily consider that conscious rap, but it was responsible to a certain degree. In that I'll even want to touch on what you said about Ice Cube. One of the things that people, frankly, and anytime you hear the rappers of that generation like talk, do interviews and things like that, one of the things they're careful to point out about what you said about like Ice Cube was that it's that type of rap music that you heard with NWA and others of that brand. It got labeled as gangster rap, but the fact is, it was more like satire. Kind of like if I go to the movies and I see Denzel Washington in Training Day, I don't actually think that Denzel Washington is a crooked cop. I think that he is an excellent actor and he's playing a role, and that's part of his craft. They were shining light and giving a window into these things. That is something that hip hop at its origins, that's what it was designed to do. Now, it wasn't always struggle culture. It wasn't always, you know, guns and violence and, you know, pimps and hoes and that kind of mentality. It shed a lot of light into parts of especially the Black culture that it wasn't getting any attention. The problem is that, and you said this when you first started, in the glorification of the struggle is where it's almost like it took a hard left turn, and it's like it never seems to have come back.
Like there's no balance.
Right.
We turned on Public Enemy, and then we also turned on Luke and Two Live Crew
and Too Short. And
right. So I'm not sitting here wanting to say all of that. Like there's no place for coke rap or drill or any of those types of genre. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not the old man, get off my lawn. What I'm saying is there's no counteractive to it. It's just all negative. And then when you see it reaffirmed by Nike, where a guy shares a video about educating yourself and he gets dropped, and then a guy keeps showing guns and they drop his signature shoe and put it in front of you. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's by design that we're feeding ourselves
and frankly, I feel like
poisonous messages in order to destroy ourselves.
And we should use the name because it's important. there was a humongous divide, not just like amongst people publicly and people in the mainstream media. There was a large divide in the black community over Kyrie Irving
Mm-hmm.
and him discussing, like he got destroyed by
Yeah.
people, and
They
that
tore his
doesn't
head
mean
off.
and that doesn't mean that you have to agree, but the way that people acted about him simply almost like I'm gonna post a link, I'm gonna share something because
Yeah.
I actually gained some knowledge from it. And
Right.
they wanted this man to sit around. He got to meet with the president. He got to
Right.
go to Israel to talk to,
Meanwhile,
the,
Ja ain't got nothing to do. And then old boy talking about the Nigger League Museum. Like that's just
man.
crickets, right? It's crickets.
But that's where I don't know how to put this other than to some degree I kind of blame the consumer because you have choices out there. It's not like there's a way for us as consumers to, put our money where our mouth is. And if you know that this blatant hypocrisy is out there and what they're peddling, because let's face it, going back to rap music now, just shifting back to that, like we know the music that's out there.
Mhm.
And we talk a lot, and I'm saying we, meaning I consider myself a part of the black community, obviously, but people consume certain stuff and then they'll look at another rapper and be like, he's corny.
Mhm.
He's whack. Why? Because he's not talking about, hoes and, guns and,
I don't want to be listening to all them big words.
right.
But that thinking right there is the actual problem.
Right.
We used to rewind like
KRS-One, I had to go
say?
back. Yeah.
What did he just
Right.
say? We used to rewind that thing and then try to figure out what he was talking about. Talking about Asiatic and all this extra stuff.
Man,
You know what I'm talking about?
X-Clan. But I remember when what's my man Kumo D? What was that song? It was the rebuttal to LL, and he went through all the L words. It was just
yeah.
like, lazy, lethargic, like listless, and like, but we actually embraced that at one point. We
Right.
wanted our
Wordplay.
rappers, we wanted it to be lyrically, dare I say, challenging.
Mhm.
To the point it gave us something to aspire to. Like it wasn't enough to just be on the corner like we used to be, rapping. Like you wasn't like them because you didn't have that vocabulary.
Right. You ain't even get what he said. Like we
Right.
used to listen to rappers like, man, ain't no way I could do what he doing.
Yep.
These guys that's out right now. Everybody, my kids could do that.
Yep. So what you got, Andre? You sitting over there all button lip?
Well, I was,
all tight.
Now, as the resident rapper, I was letting y'all go first to just kind of get a sense to make sure that I wasn't crazy. So it's been confirmed I'm not. At least on this topic. Not today. So let's go back to the culture itself and figure out where did this shift take place? Because I know personally where it shifted for me was with the evolution of Tupac.
Mm-hmm.
Because
when he went from a conscious rapper to a gangster rapper, that's when that performing arts school came up out of him.
Yeah.
Well, just saying he went from digital.
That's the same with Mobb Deep, your boy Prodigy.
Yeah.
He's a performer. These dudes ain't gangsters.
He went from digital underground to now you the hardest, like on the block, like you killing people. It's thug life.
Like
you was just with Shock G 5 minutes ago. We was at the same club. Like, what are we doing?
So we afraid of you now? That's how this works.
He built up an image, and the media allowed that image to be what it was, and
he had to live up to it.
And he had to live up to it, but then we accepted it, and all the girls wanted a thug. They wanted the nice people at first, and then Pac came around and opened up the eyes. Like they was crushing on what is it, Ralph Macchio and people like that. Then
New
all of a sudden,
right,
and then all of a sudden we in this era where now I need to have a thug, and with that that began, but at least, and I'm only even, it's going to sound stupid, but at least lyricism still provided something. Like Pac just played a balance. He would come out with, a song about killing people, and then also have a keep your head up song. Like he was dancing the line where he was still had some conscious.
Right.
Yeah.
Then
Pac did provide balance.
Yeah.
But then now we're at a point where, like you said, there is no balance. There is, like, you got the J. Cole's who still
You have J. Cole, period.
Well, I think Kendrick Lamar is still.
There's no J. Cole. Kendrick don't even rap though. Kendrick like Lil Andre 3. He like Andre 3.5.
He's being artistic, which is fine. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I'm with all of it.
There's that element that gets drowned out, like, but everything else is death, suicide, murder, shooting, drugs, and what's weird is the drug conversation used to be I sell. Somewhere within 2010 to 2015, it turned into I take, sipping on scissor.
I blame Jay-Z and Fat Joe and Ja Rule, because they made songs in the late mid-90s talking about we popping ecstasy, and Trick Daddy was talking about smoking
Don't
dirty.
forget DMX.
DMX was a full-fledged crackhead.
I was going to say, he
lived it.
Yeah.
Other people were just
Eminem.
talking.
Eminem was always on everything.
Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah.
No, but I'll even say this though too. Not just
I blame Jay-Z for the tricking.
But I'll say this, and this is really going to make me unpopular when I come back to Nashville. But part of what I think actually was like the beta version that kind of precipitated that, and you mentioned Outkast, but I remember when Master P started to get a foothold and people started to check for Southern rap. Honestly, I felt like that's when the lyric game kind of took a hit, because it wasn't required that you be an actual lyricist like they used to be in that same tradition. And that's when it began. You still had the, Jay-Z, you still had the Tupac, you still had people that thrived on that, but they were the anomaly at that point, because eventually you started getting, you didn't just wake up one day and it's like, how we get mumble rap.
Don't do that. I'm not going to let you do that to P, because we still had MJG and 8 Ball.
No, I'm saying that was the beginning.
We still had Scarface, Big Mike.
That's the beginning though.
But that's in the 90s. That's at the same time.
Yeah.
We talking about like 18 months difference, bro. You talking about 94 to like 96.
Right.
Wait a minute. Did Master P come out in about 95 or 96?
But he wasn't thump until like 97.
Right.
But yeah, he used to be in Parktown all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So that's basically the same. Yeah, that's the same time. Yeah, that's the same window. I got
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you got UGK. Like, so don't
so
say
they took a fall. So
killed
right. No, I'm not. That's why I said I'm only supposing that that can't be separated from the larger conversation. Because it almost feels like it's easy to kind of, I'm talking about the craft, the actual art form of hip hop. It lost something when we stopped valuing lyricists. But to your point, it was all in about the same window of time. Basically, 95 to 98, somewhere in there, it started to slip.
I will say you can blame P for this. And around that time is when all the drug dealers start thinking they could wash their money in the rap game.
Oh, man.
So what they start doing is putting out whack albums and then buying them back off the shelves to manipulate SoundScan.
Yep.
Which contributed to the labels giving these big budgets to these whack artists.
Hey man, you sound like you got some inside information.
I'm
something?
Just keeping it 100.
Hey.
But with that being said, because we've delved into where rap music and all this other stuff did, but like no matter how many positive forces that we try to put out into this world, why is that the negative still seems to come up? Like, why is that winning? Why is that portion of our culture winning? Not the black girl magic portion, not the good bad, good black dads, the black men don't cheat. Like, none of that seems to make it. It's only this one specific thing that continues to rise to the top, even though it's the bottom. Like, it's the weirdest thing to see. And so one of the things that, I love my quotables. And one of the things that I always said, and I call flack for it, but it's starting to play itself out, which is that black people have or we won't even say black people, but for the sake of this conversation, we're going to roll with black people, have developed a brand loyalty to ignorance.
Yes.
And with the Love and Hip Hop, whatever, I ain't heard hip hop or seen Love on that show, or any of the other reality shows that we put together. There's nothing that's really positive that comes out of those shows. Like,
I say it's slightly different, Andre, just coming from a business perspective. What they teach you in business school is know when to get out, meaning you got to be willing to admit that you're wrong. Do not double down and put good on top of bad. If you make a bad investment, you have to be capable and willing to walk away from said investment if it is no longer working for you, or you have to be able to adjust your business model so that it continues to be able to function. And too often, we don't want to admit that, you know what, we've doubled down on bad. Like, we've literally put good on top of bad. And now we've wasted an entire generation of the music, and not just music, because we're jumping on music, but it's not just music.
No, it's all of our art. It's the TV shows, like it's Empire, it's Power, it's BMF, it's like,
and it's not even that
it's
the artistry.
Have y'all sat down and watched Insecure?
I've seen a couple of episodes. It's not for me.
It is toxic as hell.
Yeah, it's not for me. It actually, honestly, it triggers me in ways
I've watched it from episode 1 all the way through, just because my wife wanted to watch it, and we sat down and watched it, and I just sat there like, and then I looked at my wife, and she had the same look, so I knew I wasn't out of pocket.
Right.
Like, that's toxic. Like, we just make,
and
we don't have any feel-good stories.
One of the things, going back to Master P, because we were talking about this before we got on, like, I really do respect his hustle, and I mean that. One of the things about the Master P's of this world is that a lot of times we don't seem to respect and appreciate the fact that there are barriers to entry when it comes to acting, singing, performing, any type of entertainment. Like, there's serious barriers to entry. Like, I remember Jon Stewart talking about and breaking down how in Hollywood, the best way to become a producer or a director or something like that is to intern. But in order to intern, you have to be able to have the money to basically be able to intern, because they're not going to pay you to intern in Hollywood.
To work for free.
To work. So you have to have the ability to work for free. Well, who got that kind of money? So my point is, there's barriers to entry. And so whenever you have the Master P's that we saw back in the 90s, the Tyler Perrys that are creating these opportunities,
or Puff or Dame,
a lot of times we still go after the white money. We still go after that level of affirmation and try to break into those, because we, frankly, other than those handful of people I just named, we don't support our own.
Well, it's the largest demographic, so naturally you're going to want to crack into that, right?
Yeah. Right.
But I have tons of rapper friends who don't like to perform in mostly white crowds, and that's all that comes to their shows. And I'm like, bro, that's where your bread is buttered.
That's right.
And
you got to be cross-cultural.
If you don't like being in a room full of white people saying nigga along with you, then you might want to change what you write.
But it would, so because you brought up like the era that we kind of grew up in, like there was a period, I remember it, I was there for it.
I was alive.
Where we had Cosby Show,
Mm-hmm.
Different
Different
World,
world. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Living Single, Martin, like all these people. I know they
Family
joked about
Matters.
Family
yeah.
Matters.
Right. Yeah,
like
Family Matters. Right.
we went somewhere, and those shows were hugely successful. So it could be done, but when did our appetite change for death and destruction? The reincarnation of Scarface, all this other stuff. Like when did we as consumers, and it's not I don't consume it, but in a larger sense, when did we decide to go down the rabbit hole of negativity? Because I mean, again, shows get canceled every season. B, if we didn't watch it, there wouldn't be.
Right,
It wouldn't
exactly.
last. Why is this our day? Like my whole thing about not watching Power or BLM or anything like, or BML or whatever, BMF. Sorry, I'm messing up shows. But the reason I don't watch
I'm thinking of the sandwich, Paul.
Right. He hungry.
I'm a little hungry. I'm a little famished. But like we touched on this in a previous episode, my life is already hard enough to deal with
Yeah.
on a daily basis. I don't want to go watch somebody else's struggle. Like that doesn't make me feel better. I don't want to surround myself with negative images. Like I literally every night watch some form of an 80s sitcom before I go to bed. Like I got to erase the day. So I sit there and like, I have to laugh at some point.
Pull up
It's
some
Adult
Barney
Swim
Miller.
for me. It's Adult Swim for me. It's King of the Hill, American Dad.
But you know what? To your point, Andre, and this is just my theory on it, and we can all relate to this to some degree. Anybody from Cincinnati knows that being Black, especially back then, it's changed a little bit now, to my knowledge. But being a Black boy going to an all-white Catholic school as an athlete, especially, but also, academically, the fact is, I was, and I stand on it. I'm 10 toes down on it. I don't apologize, but back then, especially, I was corny. Like, people used to look at us, and I remember my cousins, right, who didn't live in Forest Park. They was like, "Ooh, y'all living this Cosby Show life. Y'all living this good life. You're gonna go to college like a different world." Like, basically, at some point in the early to mid 90s, it was just like, you know what? We tired of watching what was deemed as corny niggas on TV. Will Smith, that was considered corny. The Cosby Show, Theo, it was like, that's not even real. Like, we wanted to love Theo because he was kind of like something that we could look at or whatever, Vanessa and, that kind of thing. Rudy.
Hell, Malcolm and Eddie. You brought up
Theo. Malcolm. Okay, right. But even like
brothers.
All of it is, here's what I'm saying. All of that was considered corny when the fact is it was just comedy. Like, when how you were saying there was no diversity and variety in hip hop. We had Big Daddy Kane, we had NWA, we had KRS-One, we had the Tupacs, and the big, like, you had it's like you could walk up to the buffet and there was a choice. Everything wasn't vegetables, everything wasn't dessert, everything wasn't meat, everything wasn't, carbs. Like, we got to the place where our diet as consumers of entertainment, which always has influenced the culture, our diet got to a point where we were only tolerated. We could consume other things. We didn't tolerate anything. I remember when Common was out, like, what was that, mid to late 90s? Like, they was like, he all right, but
I'm on that school too. I'm not a Common dude.
No. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I'm talking about the style. I'm talking about the fact that
he definitely had a place.
And yet, when we think back to that time, like basically back when we were in college, like we think back to that time, and it's like people were just like, let me get a little more, let me get a little more Jay-Z. Let me get a little more of this Nas right quick.
I'll point to a point in time that y'all will remember specifically, and you don't remember. You'll not. If for all of us, we remember, and it was like a switch. When we went from Tribe Called Quest as the best group in the world to they the wackest group in the world. It was like overnight.
Yeah, it happened with. It's like we woke up one day
and we all had a meeting.
Lames. Yep.
And they was
I wasn't in
lame.
the meeting though.
They was
I
the
like,
livest cats out
right.
for like 2-3 summers, and then we decided
Yep.
it's over for them.
Let me tell you something, man. Q-Tip got hazed. Like he went from being celebrated to hazed.
We went from
That's true. Yeah,
I dig
but when was what? I like I said, I remember that window vaguely, but that was like 97-ish, 96.
Nah, it was before
something.
that.
Was it?
It was before. It was after the electric relaxation. That's the last thing we let them do.
Yeah.
That's the last thing we let them do, and then everything else became a frisbee.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, though, it has influenced the culture. Back to what Andre's original, I guess, question. The point was that it's influenced the culture because, again, we don't want to just admit the fact that, you know what, we let this go too far. The actual dismissal of the Tribe Called Quest, or I'll even say it like you were talking about Outkast, right? And even though we didn't know what we were looking at the time, we treated Outkast, they were celebrated, they were heralded, but we treated Big Boy like he actually gave them the credibility because he was accepted as a little more hard, right? Whereas Andre was a little more out there, like, you know, he was a little more spacey. He was a little more
Andre
creative.
was the best rapper in the world for about 5 or 6 years.
But my point was, we literally dismiss the art, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Andre, make no mistake about it. Andre 3000
from
is
like
an amazing artist.
95 to like
99.
02, maybe. He had the verse of the summer.
Every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
You waited for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You literally waited for it. Yeah. Right. Even if it wasn't on his work. Yeah.
It might be on a guest appearance or something. He had the verse of the summer for like 6 years, man.
Yeah.
But even with that, like, because I still get back to when is a change going to happen? Or are we too far down the hole that it's a wrap? Like, because it, like, literally everything that we consume, we are visually watching it kill us. There are now the paper calls them
art is like cigarettes.
Yes.
Right.
Or like nicotine, because it's in vape pens now. It's not cigarettes. But
okay.
Yeah, it's still the nicotine.
But like
it's still the same addiction.
Every day we click on, online and see a rapper die. Now, I got a problem with if one song makes you a rapper, but okay. But even then, like Lil Somebody or Young somebody, whoever, like every day somebody's dying.
Boy.
Baby.
XPGY, somebody. XPGY, super guy.
And every time we see, we're like, man, our music is killing this. And we sit here and see the post online, man, we got to do better. And then that shit lasts for like 48 hours until that person go on the ground. We do a couple RIP posts and then we back at it again. And
what's my man out in California? What's my guy? This is a couple years ago.
Come on,
Nipsey, right? Everybody crying and whatever, and it's like
half of them didn't even know one
never
Nipsey song.
Couldn't identify him in a lineup if they had to.
Nope.
And so it's like, and he was he was literally trying to change a circumstance and still got killed. And it was like, I don't know if it was at that point, but we was like, man, F it, man. It's just, if good people going, I might as well go ahead and stay as a thug. Like from the beginning, you speaking of Master P, there was one song that was on. Don't quote me the album because he released 752 albums.
Dropping an album every month.
One summer he had like.
But there was one of the songs where a guy said, "Mama told me stay away from busters because they'll have you 6 feet under 6 feet or wearing orange colors," and. That was, I know that was in the 90s. So we've been saying stuff like that since the 90s, and now we are 2023, knowing that this life is still going to lead in one of two directions. Like
hell, Nas said, it be your own people. It's always your own people.
It honestly feels like virtue signaling more than it was more like the substance of the album that you refer to, part of the reason why we can't remember the album is because the substance of the album was still kind of, grunting and, and again, no shade, but I'm saying the substance of the album was not like, watch your back, be careful, change your surroundings, you don't have to live this way. I have a theory
E40 been
again,
spitting that
forever. But you know what? Eventually he went out of style. Eventually, he is a rap god. Like he is on Mount Rushmore. No matter what I'm not even a big E40 fan.
You don't have to be a fan of respect.
Exactly. I'm not
what he didn't put down in this game.
I'm not taking questions or comments on E40 status, but we have to own the fact that was artistry. That was actual creative. That was magical
wordplay. He don't sound like nobody else.
And he's not going to. My theory, though, to your question, Andre, when it changes is it's a two-parter thing, and I'm seeing this even with my son, who is a teenager. It's going to take the people of our generation to invest in not the generation that's current, the one that's coming up, the guys who are 18, 16, 14, 12. Well, I'm just saying.
We got to go back to the 11, 12-year-olds.
Okay. My point is, like my son, he's 14.
Right.
It's going to take us to invest in them. But it's more than just investing in them. We then have to trust them to do it. We have to trust, because too often what has happened, I personally believe, at least from what I've seen, my vantage point, we've seen these generations who are out now. We've said, I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to push you there. But the moment it doesn't feel right to us, we become like our parents that are like, that don't sound like Marvin Gaye. That don't sound like the Commodores. That don't sound like nothing I'm familiar with and used to. They're not going to reproduce. They're not going to come up with NWA. They're not going to come back with Boogie Down Productions. They're not going to come back with Tribe. And, the generation that they're not going to come up with that. It's going to be different, but we have to trust them to have the character and to have the integrity to be able to produce artistry with that level of character and substance. But it can't be the people that we have right now. It's got to be those who are younger, who are coming up. We got to really back that.
You got the record labels, which don't exist anymore. There's no artist development. No. There's no going in the dark after you get a record deal for 3 or 4 years, so they can work on your body, work on teaching you how to sing, teach you how to perform.
How to perform in concert so you can handle a 20-leg.
And media training, how to talk to people, how to do interviews. They don't do that anymore.
I know more about that than what these artists who are actually famous and performing now. And I was never even a performer in that way. I just knew what it was to perform and did a couple of shows with some people and that kind of thing. It's totally different what they're getting what they consider investment now. It's nothing like what you just said, Paul.
Well, it's the positives and negatives, man. Like it was the positives of Prince fighting for the right for everybody to own what they have, but then we took it and sprinkled some little extra stuff in it, and now it like we poisoned the intent, because now when you remove the record label, which is great, so it's more direct contracts going on where you kind of have a say in your success, but now there's not the filter, there's not the like I literally can just wake up and rap kill, upload it,
put it on YouTube, it gets hot, a couple of kids like it, before you know it, you got 12 million views, and now you think you made it.
I can drop an album on every platform and have it out in 2 weeks.
Meanwhile, Barry Gordy is somewhere with his hit bill talking about he rolling over in his grave and he ain't even dead. Like, this is ridiculous.
Man, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the conversation nonetheless. I don't know if we actually found a solution, but we at least know where it has to start, which is with us reaching backwards and not killing the arts in school. And being able to teach, you can do different things with music other than just rap about all my friends are dead. Like,
Mhm.
so I think that's
Jesus.
right. So I feel like that's where we at. But either way, we still gonna circle back. Ja, I need you to do better. That's my
Yeah.
closing. That's my close for this one. Ultimately, is I need the Ja Morants of the world to do a lot better than what they're doing.
Mm.
Mm. My APB is for Adam Silver. I'm calling on him to suspend Ja indefinitely for at least 1 year. Don't even take his call until next summer. There's no point in talking to the boy. In fact, I would even void his contract. He's bad for business.
Don't
Got
even
a
leave it
spot.
up to the Grizzlies.
Don't even leave it up to Memphis. 1 year, and then we'll talk to me after the finals next year, and we'll sit down and discuss if you've done the work to repair the damage you've done to the brand and our major sponsor.
I really got nothing to add. I was thinking 25 games at minimum, but
1
if you
year.
say a year, I mean, he put himself in the situation. So that's the one thing that I have no problem with is when you have consequences, when you do stupid stuff, you take the power out of your hands to be able to control the narrative at that point. So you get whatever fate you get at that point. So if it's a year, it is what it is.
In the same way, Ron Artest had to be a head on a stick out front of the NBA brand. Like, if you ever run into the stands again, it's going to be at least this. Ja Morant needs to serve as a warning to everybody in the league and everybody that's going to be in the league that we can't have this. It's too many kids. Like Wilbon said yesterday on NBA Countdown that he refuses to let his son buy. He won't buy his son a shoe. His son wants the shoe, won't buy the shoe because of what it represents. Yeah, he got to go, man. At least a year. He needs to know because if you go back with the stuff with the Indianapolis, then you got the stuff with Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
And it's just too much.
Yeah. Well, I was getting ready to say that I didn't even think of, honestly, I wasn't even thinking like that. But to Andre's point, I definitely am leaning towards a year because, and I'll just say it like this, as a man of faith, I believe in second chances. I believe in grace and all of that. But I am, and maybe I'm, the anomaly here. I believe that once you show a pattern, once there's recidivism, there is no more grace at that point because you've shown a flagrant disregard, either because you're young and maybe you're ignorant and you just kind of whatever, or you just can't break away from the bad influences, right? Whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. Whatever the reasons, it doesn't matter. The fact is you've shown a pattern here that you can't break the cycle by yourself. So
I'm gonna break it for you.
Too much money. You have too much money already. With your way of thinking makes you dangerous.
That's exactly.
And right. I need to cut off all the things that make you believe that you're invincible and untouchable. And if you want to go be a thug, you'll have a year to go figure out if that's for you.
Yeah. But well, it's like he's already
take your ass to O Block and check in if that's what you want to do.
Right. Wasn't it 30-something million? Was it like $39 million that he forfeited because he didn't make any of the All NBA teams?
Yep.
I want to say it was 60.
No, he gave up 600,000.
He gave up 600,000 with the
suspension, and then it was 39. It was 38, 39 or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, $40 million. Yeah, $40 million. You have forfeited not only
because this is his first contract. I know what you're thinking, Paul. Right. If this would have been the second contract, like a Curry or something like that, then it would have been escalated. Yeah. But because he's coming off of the rookie one, he still forfeited $40 million. Like
it's never coming back.
You're
never going to make that money back.
You never get it back. I don't care how rich he ever becomes. That money was gone. Canceled. And I'll say it like this, not to be paternalistic, but it's almost like he's clearly not listening to anybody around him who is wise. If he has anybody, you almost have to save him from himself at this point.
Well, the wise counsel is what he doesn't have. There was an article that popped up that showed the guy who was videotaping with him in the car this last time. That was the same guy that was at Indianapolis. That was the same guy that got kicked off the court and he can't come to the FedEx Forum. That was the same guy that met him at the mall with his mom's issue. That was the same guy that met him at his sister's event when he showed up there. Like, the utmost respect that I have for LeBron and KG and that generation of player when they came out of high school and were young and got a bunch of money, they had their friends and they made sure their friends were contributing to the enhancement of their career and not the detriment of it. LeBron, I mean, you can say what you want about Rich Paul. He's one of the most powerful people in sports at this point. Definitely in the NBA. All of KG's friends, he was like, yo, I'll pay for you to go to school, but you can't just hang around me doing nothing. Wow. And so your boy definitely got some hangers-ons people that ain't contributing to his life. Now I know
I'm not going to give him that kind of latitude, bro. You the man. You the man.
I know
you're the boss.
But he got to get them people out. Like that's what I'm saying. Like everybody, because
you know what? To Paul's point, he has to want to, and that's why I can't give him that break. I'll never forget the story that Allen Iverson said. He talked to. He never gave the guy's name. Apparently, it was put in some articles because everybody knew who it was, but he never publicly said his name. But he had a good friend of his from back, when he was a kid in Virginia. Somebody who he came up with. Again, going back to that culture where it's like, you ain't real if you ain't down with us, and you got to stay in the hood. He had a friend who it was causing him so much drama, so much grief, so much bad publicity and everything. He said he kept getting in trouble that he said he wanted to meet him. So he came back off the road from a road trip, met the guy with, I believe he said it was like a suitcase with like $500,000.
Yes.
He dapped him up, gave him a hug and a kiss and was like, man, I love you. I'm going to love you forever. He was like, don't call me again. Like, take this money and don't ever call me again. Like,
yes, absolutely.
And that, again, going back to that culture conversation, because we don't want to be told we're a sellout and we done left the hood and we done forgot our roots, a lot of times we don't want to leave people who obviously don't care nearly as much about us as we care about them. And so we can't walk away. And he can't walk away at this point from the same guy. You just broke down the track record, Andre.
Yes.
So to Paul's point, go home and think about it. Just like you would have got suspended in school.
Well, I'm not trying to give a pass on the friend. I'm saying we have identified the cancer. We need to go and have surgery is what I'm saying.
Right.
I get what y'all saying. I'm saying Jado, like, I'm not giving him that pass.
Wow.
I'm not giving him the pass that he gets hanger-ons. No, you the boss. You are the face of a franchise, the face of the largest sports brand, and then a sports. Don't give me that he being controlled by some broke nigga that from his neighborhood. I can't go for that, man.
No, I'm not saying that he being controlled. I'm saying he letting that man mess up the church's money is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So where we
I'm
at,
saying
though,
Ja messing it up willingly. He on his own IG. It ain't like dude going to the shade room and saying, "Yo, check out this video. I got a job."
Oh no, he's definitely he is 100% responsible for all of this. I'm just saying we have identified who need to go.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing.
This is that college class where they say look to your left and look to your right. One of these people ain't gonna be.
Right.
Look this way, bro. You looking the wrong way. Stop doing no looks.
But I think dude need a year to sit down. I think he need to understand that this is real. Yes. 20 games ain't gonna do nothing. No. He gonna just sit back and wait to come back, and then he gonna be right back up to the. He need to know that he can be and then come back on zero tolerance.
Because I believe
you out the league.
To Paul's point, because I believe this is just the reason why he needs a whole year. I really don't think that Ja understands the problem.
I don't think he cares.
That's the problem.
And that's why he got to sit home.
But I want to applaud y'all before we wrap this APB up. Y'all didn't mention his father one time. I appreciate y'all for not bringing him.
Yeah, we do.
He's a grown man.
See how
He's a grown man. I didn't see his daddy in none of the videos.
No. His daddy was somewhere.
His daddy put braces on him and got him to college and drove him to AAU all summer. I ain't man. We're not going at Big Demetrius. And in fact, his name ain't Ja no more. It's Lil Demetrius. From here on out. Lil Demetrius need to get his shit together.
Because you embarrassing Big Demetrius?
Boy. He can't even hang out. Usher won't take his calls no more. Yeah. Like, man.
Oh, I love it. Well, that wraps up yet another great episode of The Gray Matters. We hope you all have enjoyed it. We look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, be safe. Stay peaceful out there. There's a lot of action going on out there. There's a lot of people that are tense and angry, and let's spread some love for a change. You know, it's okay to walk away. Let's see if we can all get home at night so that we can see another tomorrow. So until next time, we're out. God bless.
Peace. Oh, and everybody in 11U baseball, I'm praying for y'all. Praying for y'all, especially the umpires.
Man.
So a preacher, a stay-at-home dad, and a rapper walk into a bar. I am my ancestors back from the grave, no longer a slave, beat to the gods, kneel, pray, surviving my day. A threat to society, cause Malcolm showed me the way. I'm young, black, intelligent. Oh, now they afraid. It's too late, I am the king, I am the spark to the brain. I am the light that fought the dark, and now you're seeing the rain. I am the thing they spent their whole life killing. To find out, I am the rose that grew from under their building. This ain't for life, this is a fight so you can open your mind. Peel the scab back, reveal the blood, and see what we'll find. I promise. Like LeBron, I am just one of a kind. No longer will I accept the blind, leading the blind. Keep it a buck, say what I want, not giving a screaming afterward like Park until the day my heart stops. And when I do, remember when I take my last breath, just remind the tape and witness all the knowledge I left. The great. So I said, a preacher, a stay-at-home dad, and a rapper walk into a bar. The Gray Matters.